Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be diving into a recent project that I took care of on this truck. As you can see, it is bright red. So this is my 1988 Toyota pickup. I've had this truck for 20 plus years, and this is beautiful, right? This is an OEM red. This is the factory color that this truck used to be when I got it back when I was 14 years old. The only thing missing now is the graphics, but we're working on sourcing those. I had this weird like dealer option graphic kit on it when I got it, and I would really like to find that graphic kit, but I've not been able to so far, but we're still looking. But anyways, today we're going to be talking about the fuel system and what I did to sort that problem out. So recently I discovered that my fuel system, my fuel pressure regulator specifically, wasn't working properly. I was reading about 55 psi at the rail, which this truck really needs 33, I think, to 38. So I ended up taking care of that, getting it fixed. We'll dive into that, but first, let's check this paint job out. Yeah, it runs fantastic. So like, I wanted to put some miles on this before I showed you guys how to do it, or at least what I did. Now, I'm not doing a full in-depth video on this because it's pretty straightforward. I will say, take the EGR off. If you're doing the project, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Well, I got the old fuel pressure regulator out. Way easier if you take off the EGR recirc tube here. Take that guy off. It just bolts to the back of the intake manifold there and goes down to that little canister thing there. You can see it. Yep, right there. So took that off. Makes it way easier to get in there and get this thing off. This is a 17 millimeter on the top, and unfortunately the internet was wrong, or at least the part that I looked at, as far as what size this is. So I can't actually finish this install today. I'm gonna have to wait until I can get a different adapter. The one I bought was an M14 by 1.5 thread pitch, and this is actually an M12 by 1.25 thread pitch. So I've ordered an M12 1.25 to 6AN adapter, and hopefully that'll be in tomorrow, which should, fingers crossed, thread into that. Maybe you can see it. Surely you noticed that. That's not factory. That is an aftermarket fuel pressure regulator. Okay, this is a cheapie. I bought it off Amazon. You know, it is what it is. It works. But the reason I'm doing this video is because the fuel pressure regulator failed in this truck, and I was reading 55 pounds of fuel pressure at the rail, regardless of whether the vacuum hose was hooked up or not. Okay, the problems that I was seeing was hard to start and terrible gas mileage, and the thing would just flood out sometimes when I would try to crank it up, and I would just have to hold the pedal to the floor to get it to fire up. Working on it, trying to figure out the issue, that's when I discovered that I was getting excessive fuel pressure. Looking around for a factory fuel pressure regulator or a factory style, it seemed kind of hard to find. I can find them all day long for the 6-cylinder, but for the 2.4 22 RE, they're a little bit more difficult to find. And when you do find them, they're $100+. So what I did was I ordered this off of Amazon. This is a PQY adjustable fuel pressure regulator. It was 25, maybe 28 bucks, including shipping. I had to do a few things to make this system work for this truck. One of which is I ordered a 6AN fuel line that was already pre-made. I didn't want to mess with making one myself. Sure, you can make one yourself and save yourself some money, but at the end of the day, this was 10 bucks. Okay, so $28 for this, 10 bucks for this. Okay, I also had to get this fitting right here. This is an Orb 8 to 6AN adapter. That way I could hook up the 6AN line. I didn't want to run 8AN all the way to the rail. I think that's excessive for this small of an engine. The other thing that I got was an Orb 6 to 1/4 inch barbed fitting. So I bought that so that I could hook up there. Pretty straightforward. This is your fuel return line. This is the end feed coming off the rail. It's kind of hard to see down here where it goes into. You can see it right there. So that is a M12 I want to say 175 pitch. I'll put it up on the screen to make sure the measurements are right. But I used that adapter, that M12 to a 6AN adapter to get over to the 6AN fuel line. Okay, now my fuel line is a 90 or a straight on this end, and I want to say I did a 90-degree bend on that end. And again, this is pre-made, prefabbed, bought it off Amazon, 10 bucks. All in, I'm probably around $45 into this. And yeah, sure, I could have spent another 50 and probably got a factory one, but this one's got a gauge so I can see what my fuel pressure is. Now, I got this thing adjusted, you know, hooking up the vacuum line here, got it where it's working right. Got this thing dialed in to about 35 PSI, and the truck runs great. That being said, I did want to put some miles on this before I showed you guys what I did. That way I could make sure that this worked properly before I submitted this for you guys to try yourself. Now, like I said, runs great, no major issues. I have noticed a smoother idle. I've also noticed that I don't have a, you know, that choppiness that I was experiencing. The idle seems to be more consistent. So when I come to a stoplight or a stop sign, the truck idles roughly at 900 RPMs. I don't know if that's what it's supposed to idle at. That's just where I have mine set. And it seems to be extremely consistent. So if you're having fuel pressure issues, rough idle, you know, difficult to start, if you can hold your foot on the gas and crank it up and it fires up after it doesn't want to start, then more than likely you're flooding it. Try this. Like I said, I'm 45 bucks into it. It looks cool. It seems to work. And my truck's red, so thanks for watching.